Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center for today's Crew 5 Crew News Conference. I'm Megan Dean and we're pleased to be joined by the crew today. We have NASA astronauts Nicole Mann, Josh Cassada, JAXA astronaut Koichi Wakata, and Roscosmos cosmonaut Kikina. The crew is scheduled to launch aboard the SpaceX Crew Dragon Endurance spacecraft no earlier than September 29th from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Now we'll take brief remarks from the crew, and then we'll go to media in the room for questions, media on the phone bridge, and to social media. So with that, I'll hand it over to the crew.
Thank you. I'm Nicole. I'll be the commander of the Crew 5 mission, and we are just excited to be here and to share with you in our Crew 5 and Expedition 68 mission. We are ready to go. And it amazes me each time I stop to think about the enormous number of people that are involved in preparing us for this mission. It's the facilities that provide these high-fidelity mock-ups, the software that execute the simulation, and the people that develop, execute, and organize all of those assets. Without you, we couldn't be prepared for the mission. You're a big part of making us successful, and know that we're going to take a little piece with us when we go out into space. And in these last few weeks before launch, we are excited and humbled to be a part of human exploration. And thank you to our families for supporting us during this busy time. Let's go, Crew 5.
Hi, I'm Josh, and we're really excited to get to work. This is an incredible crew. I know a lot of people say that, a lot of crews say that, and I don't think they realize just how great it could be. We have 3 first-time flyers going to the International Space Station, and you know what's so great about this is we're doing it for something greater than ourselves. And those 3 first-time flyers, we're bringing a lot of energy to the International Space Station, which of course we're going to need to keep up with Koichi, who's anything but a first-time flyer. In fact, you're probably still getting your mail forwarded to low Earth orbit, I assume. But like Nicole said, we are incredibly grateful and honored to do this job, and we couldn't ask for a better crew to do it with. Uphill, downhill, and with the rest of Expedition 68 on board. Thank you.
Hello, I am Koichi. I am honored to be part of this wonderful international crew of Crew 5. And together we're strong, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone internationally in the ISS program, instructors, engineers who get us ready for this Crew 5 launch. And we have been working together and like a family, and I'm so honored to be here. So I'm very much looking forward to having time for half a year with my great crewmates on board. I don't know who the rookie is, but so they are well prepared and very technically capable, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Здравствуйте всем, меня зовут Анна. Я очень рада, что я являюсь частью большой программы международного сотрудничества. Я очень рада представлять свою страну в этом деле большом. И я счастлива быть частью этого экипажа. Я очень благодарна каждому и всем, кто работал, работает и продолжает стараться, вкладывать свои силы и трудиться, чтобы наша общая программа, наше международное сотрудничество, наше общее дело продолжало жить. Всем спасибо.
Thank you, crew. We're excited to see you on orbit. All right, we'll take questions from media and also from social media. If you have a question on the phone, please press *1 to ask your question, or *2 to withdraw your question if it's already been asked. If you are on social media, please use #AskNASA to ask your question. But we'll start here in the room. So we'll start with Gina. Please state your name and affiliation.
Gina Sinceri, ABC News for Koichi. What advice did Soichi give you? I mean, he's flown on Dragon. Did he say you need to know this about the capsule? What advice did he give you?
So both Soichi and Aki flew on the Crew Dragon flight, and the Crew 1 and Crew 2. They gave me all the tips. But since the spacecraft is actually all of us flew on the space shuttle and the Soyuz spacecraft, it's a very different spacecraft, very sophisticated, very automated, and it's very reliable system. And so I think I have to listen to commander and pilot and work with Anya as mission specialist, and then we work together. So that's the key. The communication is the key. That's what Aki and both Soichi told me.
All right. Let's take a question. Mark Carew.
Thank you, Mark Carew with Aviation Week and Space Technology. My question is for Nicole Mann. It's not too long ago that you were named to the Artemis team, one of the members. What does this experience bring to you, your resume, your foresight on potentially, I guess, or certainly leading being part of a lunar mission?
This is a huge part of our larger mission under Artemis to go to the moon and eventually to Mars. So what we are going to do in low Earth orbit is a stepping stone to achieving those goals of exploration into deep space. The technology development, the research that we'll do, some of the operations that we'll learn to develop and work with the ground. Understanding how we're going to do that from a further distance where we don't have the accessibility of the ground so often. And so I think we're all excited to be a huge part of that mission. We're going to gain a ton of experience in flying in low Earth orbit, and any of us could be assigned to an Artemis mission in the future, and hopefully we'll walk on the moon together one day.
Awesome. Okay, another question in the room. Yep.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week for Josh and Nicole. You've had the unusual opportunity at this early stage to have gone through Starliner training and now also SpaceX training. Can you give us maybe like 2 or 3 specific examples of what you've gleaned from the 2 different programs, like just what's done differently or things that are in one program but not in another? Just some sense of the flavor of the difference between the 2 companies.
Yeah, you're right. We are in a unique position, having been trained on both spacecraft, and it is remarkable to see how 2 different communities approach and solve the same problem, not unlike we see with our international partners. We all have ultimately the same goal, but we all have our different strengths and weaknesses, and we can capitalize on those. So on the SpaceX side, of course, they have the heritage of having done a lot of cargo missions, right? So they have a lot of background there in ISS activities. Now, Boeing, of course, has a tremendous amount of background in human spaceflight in general. So to watch these 2 companies, again, build on the foundations that they already had, but also learn from NASA, who can kind of be the conduit and kind of steer the missions where they need to, is just a remarkable experience to see, and not something I was expecting as a test pilot to get to participate on both.
I agree. It's really a unique opportunity to be able to be involved in the development and execution of both programs. And the common denominator that we see really are the people. You see some dedicated, some very intelligent engineers and operators that create these systems and provide these training platforms for us. And so it's really quite remarkable to translate or transition from one program to another. Similar to what Josh said about working with Koichi or Anya, we all have the same kind of baseline of training and understanding, and it makes it very easy then to jump into a new spacecraft, learn it quite rapidly, be able to communicate amongst your crew in order to execute that mission.
All right, thank you. We'll take some questions from the phone bridge. Let's go to Elizabeth Howell with space.com.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for taking my call. I just was wondering if you'd had some conversations with SpaceX concerning some of that transport damage that was happening on the first stage, the booster, and the changes to the spacecraft.
Absolutely. We have some very transparent conversations with them all the time. In fact, just before this was the mission briefing with all of leadership, and they talked very openly of the modifications, some challenges that they've had, the fixes, and the testing campaign. Everybody is certainly on the same page that the hardware needs to be reliable and it needs to be safe. And we have full confidence that NASA and SpaceX and the international partners are not going to put us on a rocket or a spacecraft that they feel is not ready to go. So it's very refreshing. In fact, this open communication that we have, nothing's hidden, everything's in the open, and it's nice to understand exactly what the situation is. So we feel very confident.
All right, we'll take another question here in the room. Go ahead.
Question for Anna Kikina. Similar to what Gina asked earlier, what advice did your fellow cosmonauts give you before this mission? And if you could go into a little bit how training has been in the past year for this mission, what has it been like? Thanks.
Я не могу сказать, что прямо советы какие-то получала. Основная польза от моих коллег была в совместной подготовке вместе с ними на тренировках, на подготовке, на лекциях, на совместном взаимодействии при отработке определенных действий на различных тренировках. Таким образом, я срабатывала с ними, я училась работать в экипаже.
I worked with the crew together. It's not like they gave me some specific advice, but it was the process of working with them at the simulations, during the lectures, during the classes, and various other parts of the training that was the most important part of preparing me for this.
И я вообще считаю, что работа с коллегами из своего отряда, а также с иностранными коллегами, они в целом обогащают твой опыт как специалиста по возможности и способности взаимодействия и коммуникации как член экипажа.
And I generally believe that working as part of the team, the colleagues from our own cosmonaut team and the international partners, colleagues, that generally expands your views and helps you to develop new patterns of communication and new skills. Thank you.
All right, let's take another question from the phone bridge. Robert Perlman with Collect Space.
Hi, for Nicole and Josh, I was looking at your crew patch, and until recently it didn't have any names, so it sort of indicated how your crew came together late, or at least the confirmation of the crew. I wonder if you could talk about the design of it. Did one of you lead it? What it symbolizes, and if there was any talk about going back in, and since your flight has been delayed a little bit, adding in the crew's international flags to represent where each of you come from.
So we have two boys. Our oldest is 13 and our youngest is 11. And Nicole and I, this will be our first flight. We got here in 2013, and we've had an incredible career so far. As test pilots, it's just been incredibly rewarding. But along with that goes a lot of designing of patches at our kitchen table on behalf of these kids. And so there were a couple times that my oldest, who's a bit of an artist, put together some ideas, and I had to tell him, we might want to slow the roll a little bit. We've got some more flight tests to do before we're going to be able to put that one into action. So they actually worked initially on a design at our kitchen table. Of course, this isn't all theirs, but a large part of the Crew Dragon 5 and the commercial crew symbol coming behind the Dragon itself. That comes from them. We worked with some designers and got some input from the rest of the crew, as well as Nicole's son, who is largely responsible for our expedition patch. So as far as introducing the international piece of it, we didn't try to exclude anybody, and we didn't try to necessarily include anyone. This is specifically for us as a planet and as a society. And so I was just really excited that these kids got to put their crayons to use. It was really fun to watch.
All right, we'll take another question on the phone. Marvin Marshall with the Nighttime News Space Report.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question today. My name is Marvin Marshall from the Nighttime News Space Report. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to such a talented crew today. My question, I guess, is for all of you guys. What fun or interesting items did you guys pack in your PPKs that you'll be bringing to station? We look forward to watching you guys have an amazing trip up and stay on the International Space Station. Thank you.
Well, there are a lot of things that we pack, but I'm not an artist or anything, but I put some origami paper, so I hope I can make something in orbit and probably fly that in a Japanese module, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to.
I did pack a little something special for my family, and I can't tell you about it because it would ruin the surprise. So.
I can absolutely tell you what I packed, and that's because Nicole doesn't get one of my 1980s movies references. So we're going to watch a lot of 80s movies, and particularly Fletch, every Friday, to make sure that she gets some of the jokes I've been making for the last decade.
Я люблю город, откуда я родом, Новосибирск, и очень хочу взять символ своего города, маленького человечка в коротких штанишках, веселого, с оранжевой прической, городовичок. Вот такого сделано руками людей, люди связали его.
I love my city, the city I was born in, Novosibirsk. And I am taking with you a symbol of our city, a small figurine, a little man called Gorodovichok. In little shorts and with orange hair, it will bring us joy on the station and to the people in Novosibirsk.
All right, we have another question here in the room. Irene, wait for the mic.
Irene Klotz with Aviation Week for Anna. As a member of Crew 5, do you have responsibilities on the U.S. OS program, or do you primarily transfer to the Russian crew?
В целом и в основном моя работа будет на российском сегменте Международной космической станции, но у нас есть с ребятами и перекрестные задачи, в котором я тоже буду привлечена. Например, быть ассистентом, помощником в EVA операциях или при работе с СС-РМС робототехникой. Есть еще и другие некоторые научные задачи.
As a general rule, I will be working on the Russian segment. However, there are tasks across segments that I will be participating in. I will be assisting my crew members with the EVA activities, preparation for those. I will also be participating in the SSRMS, robotic arm operations. And there are a number of other tasks that I will be involved in across the segments.
All right, media in the room, if you have a question, please raise your hand. Media on the phone line, if you have a question, please press *1. We have a question on the phone from Marvin Marshall with Nighttime News Space Report.
Oops, sorry about that. I was muted. My name is Marvin Marsh from the Nighttime News Space Report again. I've got one question about the pre-flight meals. If you guys have picked those yet, what do you guys have in mind to eat before you guys go up to the station? Thank you.
I have honestly not thought about that one bit yet, which is surprising because I eat a lot of food. But
that's not what I said.
I think, to be honest, we've been just really extremely busy with our training program. And when we get into quarantine down at Kennedy Space Center, I know we'll have the opportunity to make some delicious choices. And hopefully we'll have some international food to enjoy for the meal we have prior to launching.
And it will be Detroit-style pizza.
That's what you're picking. And it will be pizza.
All right, now we'll take a couple of questions that have come in on social media. If you have a question on social media, you can ask using hashtag #AskNASA. Asher on Twitter is asking, what science experiments are you excited to participate in while in orbit? For any that would like to answer.
So I'm biased to a certain focus of science. I come from a physics background, and there's some really, really cool experiments on board right now. The AMS was the alpha magnetic spectrometer was one that I knew about as a fledgling physicist as it was being proposed, and so it's really amazing to be even a small part of that. Of course, we're not going to interact directly with the AMS unless it breaks, and then we'd be really excited to go fix it. But some others that are really interesting to me, the Cold Atom Lab is again a really interesting fundamental physics experiment in which we can see quantum mechanics at a macroscopic scale. These guys are sick of hearing me talk about it, but that is one that is also very near and dear to my heart. But we're really lucky. We get to do all kinds of science. There's some really cool biofabrication work that we're doing up there. Just next generation direct application back here on Earth. And I just feel really fortunate to be in another national lab. I started in one when I was in my 20s, and I'm back on one. And getting to do really cool stuff on behalf of everybody else is a really, really fortunate situation.
Space station is a wonderful asset for scientific research, and that benefits our life on Earth and also for the exploration. I'm really excited that station is an important test bed for our exploration, back to the Moon and Mars. And some of the experiments I'll be involved is liquid behavior of like an oil type liquid in the low gravity environment with the Moon gravity of 1/6 G and then Mars gravity of 1/3 G, using a small centrifuge in the Japanese Kiba module, so it can simulate that the Moon-Mars environment, and then the data from that will be fed back to the development of like a gearbox of like a Moon pressurized rover, for example, and also like a fuel cells, gas liquid separation in the low gravity, not the zero gravity. So station is a wonderful test bed for future exploration, and I'm so excited to be part of this experiments that will benefit us for exploration on the Moon and Mars.
All right, we'll take another question from social media for Koichi. What is it like viewing the Earth from space?
That's a good question, and I'm looking forward to seeing your first impression, because I still remember when I first flew and then I saw the beautiful home planet from the Earth. That was beyond description, and that was probably the most impressive view that I've ever had. On the space shuttle launch, we launched at night, and then as soon as the main engine cut off, when we first saw the Earth blue planet, it was so wonderful, such a beautiful planet, and I felt very lucky to be able to call this planet our home. So that's the impression that I had. Thank you.
All right. And we'll take a final question from social media for each of you. What age did you realize you wanted to become an astronaut? Or if it was not on your radar, what did you envision yourself doing when you were younger? Whoever would like to start.
I can start.
Go ahead.
Because probably I'm the youngest or the oldest, and then so before they were born, I think I was 5 years old when I saw the Apollo 11 lunar landing, and at that time there was no astronauts. There were only flyers from the United States and from the former Soviet Union. So as a small Japanese boy, I thought it was impossible to be part of the human space exploration. But a few decades later, thanks to the international cooperation, I was able to come to JSC to be trained as space shuttle mission specialist and flew on the shuttle and the International Space Station. So I was so lucky to be part of this. But international cooperation is the key for the future exploration in space.
For me, I was a little bit older. I didn't have everything quite figured out when I was young, and so it wasn't until I was in my mid-20s flying jets in the Marine Corps that I realized that being an astronaut was not only something that was a possible dream, but actually something that's quite attainable. I think as a young girl, I just didn't realize that that was an opportunity and a possibility. And that's part of the reason I feel like outreach to the younger generation and getting the mission out of what we're doing on the International Space Station, our international cooperation, how important that is to the world, how important that is to this next generation, so that they realize not only can they achieve any dream that they set forth, but also what they need to do in order to bring our world together.
Being an astronaut wasn't always my goal. Although when I was a child, I met an astronaut, Joe Tanner. And sorry, Joe, if you're out there, I don't remember it. I was pretty young, but I believe the people who tell me we met. But what I really wanted to do was play Major League Baseball. And so that's what I did nearly every second that I wasn't studying. I was playing baseball. And when my fastball didn't break about 80 miles an hour, when that was very clear that that was going to be as fast as it would be, I needed to start looking for another job. And so physics is something that has always interested me. as well as aviation. And so it was at that point where I realized, wow, I'm going to do both of these things that I am incredibly passionate about. And if they happen to be a good fit to do this job, then so be it. But either way, I was doing something I loved. And so, again, really fortunate to be here.
К мыслям, которые передала до этого Николь, хочу добавить, что действительно очень важно осознание того, что ты имеешь возможность быть космонавтом.
I would like to add to what Nicole said about the importance of realizing that being an astronaut is an open opportunity for the young people.
Для меня дверями, открывшими такое понимание, стал первый в истории нашей страны открытый набор в отряд космонавтов, который показывал, что любой гражданин нашей страны может стать космонавтом. Именно тогда я это осознала и поняла, что хочу стать космонавтом. Мне тогда было 27 лет, вы спросили.
And for me, this moment of realization that I have the opportunity to become a cosmonaut, this moment occurred when Russian Space Agency announced recruitment of candidates to the cosmonaut corps. At this time, this opportunity was open to everyone, including myself. And to answer your specific question, I was 27 at this time.
All right, thank you. We'll take one more question from social media for Nicole. How does it feel to be the first female commander of a SpaceX Crew Dragon?
I feel very fortunate, and it's very humbling to be commander of Crew 5. We have an incredible crew to go up to the International Space Station. I think a lot of people sometimes will ask, how does it feel to be a female astronaut or a female Marine? And I think it's important that young girls realize that they have these leadership opportunities for them. But from an operational perspective, to be honest, it really doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, or what country you're from, or your gender or your race. We are coming together as a human race. And our mission on board the International Space Station of developing this technology and research to benefit all of humankind is really what brings us together.
All right, well said. That will do it for our questions for today, so we'll wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please stay tuned to watch this crew launch to the International Space Station. You can watch them live on NASA TV, nasa.gov/live, or on the NASA app, and keep up with NASA on social media for the latest updates. Thank you for joining us, and go Crew 5.